I'll give you a clue. It was Grimsby.
They are pressing quite well. What's happened there? You've got to be joking.
Oh, sorry, no, I've done it the wrong way around. I've drawn an arrow and I haven't seen it. Sorry.
He must have a horseshoe up his arse.
If we're playing on professional and that's happening for Barcelona,
2 years ago. Sorry about that. I don't know what that was.
I'm sorry, that's just put me off the game. I'm not having that.
Anyway, segue, moving on.
What has that got to do with football? Why is that at a football ground? Hello and welcome to another ramble from the Honest Football Podcast, where we bring honesty back to the beautiful game. I'm Charlie Betts, and joining me this week and every week is Craig Savage and Daniel Cody.
Coming up on today's show, we talk about all things National League, the deciding AFCON qualifiers, some good news for Nuneaton, the bizarre new CONCACAF League, any other business, and Noe Pamaro's Name the Matchday Squad.
So how's your week been, guys? Well, I just want to talk about the crisp debate that has swept the nation right now. Obviously, I sent it to you two guys in the WhatsApp group. Channel 5 released a pyramid of what's the best crisps and what's the worst.
Which is shocking, by the way.
A fraudulent list of who they're sponsored by, basically.
How'd you work that out?
Because it certainly wasn't based on the quality of the crisp, was it?
I will say that caused quite a division between us three and then other friends.
I mean, it was almost as big as the Big Mac debate from a few weeks back.
It was. Not as big as the
there was a couple of things that I think we established between us as friends that we didn't know about each other, really, if I'm honest.
Which is what crisp we like, mate.
Yeah, but that list was, you know, because the fact that TalkSport then tried to do one about biscuits just shows it was only there for provocative
Let's not
reasons.
give them the.
That's what I mean. For me, Channel 5 knew that fucking that salt and vinegar one should be in the top tier. That was ridiculous. That just normal plain Walker's salt and vinegar is on the top tier.
Well, I
so they knew what they were doing when they did that. Completely provocative and absolute horseshit.
Can I just say, on my day off, I caught about 10 minutes of This Morning, and one of the presenters, I think it might have been the Philip Schofield, who said that his favourite was salt and vinegar as well. It was him or Holly Willoughby. One of them said that was their
salt and
favourite.
vinegar Pringles, yeah. No.
Look, there's two
Definitely
things.
not Sensations, I'll tell you it now.
They are overrated. They are
Very
so overrated.
I'm not having this debate again. What we need to establish with crisps generally is whatever brand you make and whatever flavours you make, the original is always the best. So if you are Sensations and you made Thai sweet chilli first, they're your original. If you made Pringles and you make various different flavours, original was first, they are the best. We know here that I am the voice of reason when it comes to food, and I am happy to stay by
totally
that.
disagree.
And what the fuck were knickknacks nice and spicy doing at the bottom?
Why wasn't Skips in the thing?
Skips.
Now I've had
Skips melt on your tongue for crying out loud. What
Well,
more do you want for a crisp?
I forgot about this until I bought a packet a couple of days ago because I've had
you?
Skips since I was about 6. So I was like,
you know-
why is this not even on the list?
Do you know what I noticed about that list? There was a distinct lack of crinkle cut crisps on there. Now I actually brought in my favourite crisps, which were the baked Jacobs cheese and onion crinkle cut crisps, because I think you get a bit of texture, a bit of like they're quite thick, aren't they?
It's almost as your glazed M&M's.
No, but I hate those crisps that are just so thin and like I just don't like it.
I genuinely think barbecue mini cheddars should be at the top there.
Fuck off. That's
We're just talking about stupidity here.
It's not stupidity. They're great.
All I want to know is why knickknacks are at the bottom. The rest of
Because
it,
they're not
I'm
all
not
that.
too worried about.
They're not all that.
That's fair enough. I wanted to talk
Do you know
about.
one thing I noticed? Sorry, really quickly about crisps. Remember you used to get little toys and stuff in them. You don't get them
Yeah.
anymore.
Did you?
When did that stop? Yeah, you used to
I
get
mean,
like
Walkers,
pops
you get
and
the
stuff.
pops, yeah.
That was it, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'm
sure
sure
that is.
didn't they used to have like special like World Cup and Euro edition
Yeah,
things?
and you
Yeah.
get like stickers and stuff.
Yeah.
Suddenly that stopped.
The same
Same
thing.
thing with cereal boxes.
Cereal,
wasn't it?
yeah.
But
I think
that's a
that's
different
different.
debate.
Yeah,
but
it's different.
Anyway, sorry, you're about to.
I wanted to talk about a food thing that relates to the beverage we have every week here with us, Iron Brew.
Extra.
And
yet to actually sponsor us. but
also,
Yeah,
for
come on, Iron Brew.
for the first time ever, I think, for one of my food intros, since the Cadbury Advent Calendar, actually relates to football.
Go on.
Oh.
So this weekend is the Checkatrade Trophy final
It
between
is.
Portsmouth and Sunderland.
Yeah, should be set up.
Yes, there is a butcher's in Sunderland, which Jack Ross, the Sunderland manager, is visiting as part of the publicity trail, and they are doing some special edition sausages
Right.
for the cup final.
Oh, no.
And one of these sausages, to celebrate the Scottish influence at the club, including Jack Ross, is a battered sweet chilli and Iron Brew flavoured sausage.
Oh my god.
Thoughts?
I've got to be honest.
Let's think about this. Do they actually want to go to the game? Because they're going to be staying in the toilets.
I've got to be honest. I don't necessarily. I like a battered sausage. I do like a battered sausage.
Yes.
I like Iron Brew. I don't know if sweet chilli for me would fit in there. That's the element that's a bit rogue on me for that.
Yeah, because the beverage part isn't a problem, because you have Coke and Gam and that works, it's quite well known.
Yes.
But in terms of having Iron Brew and sweet chilli together, I feel like, I mean, we could experiment one day and just chuck a bit of sweet chilli sauce in our bottle of
I'll
ivory.
be honest, it's a long coach journey from Sunderland to Wembley.
Yes.
And there's going to be a lot of services on the way.
So they might want to leave the coach an hour earlier.
I get the battered sausage because, as a stereotype, Scottish people are famous for battering a lot of foods that don't need to be battered, like Mars bars,
pizzas, burgers.
Yeah. I get the iron brew, obviously. What's Scottish about sweet chilli? As far as I'm aware, that's a Far Eastern
I think
sauce.
that's so it actually has a hint of tasting noise.
Oh, right. Is that what it is?
If you say, here's a fucking iron brew sausage, I don't think many people are going to buy it. You say sweet chilli, they go, oh, exotic.
Oh God, no. Portsmouth released one.
Have they?
I don't know, I hope not.
Not that I know of. The last thing I wanted to talk about in the intro was Charlie Betts annoyed me again this week by announcing that his school play as a teacher was Finding Nemo. The classic, well-known theatrical production. And then justified it by sending a picture of someone in a fucking fish suit.
To be fair, that guy was at Disneyland in Florida.
Hang on.
Yeah, Disneyland. Who fucking made it?
He's not in the
It's not a theatre, is it?
He's not in the West End.
No, but you got to understand, lads. You've got to push boundaries. If everyone just kept doing the same plays,
You're a primary school teacher, man.
Just do a Shark Tale.
They would be no. That's rubbish. I'm sorry. Finding Nemo is so much better.
And A Bug's Life.
No.
Ants. Every kid could be an ant.
Everyone kid could be an ant.
No, but the point is if no one did that, we'd just end up with the same plays being rolled out. You have to push back. You have to be a pioneer. You have to
Incredibles?
Extend that frontier.
My problem is because you're doing that this year, what you're basically saying is that you don't trust the kids to be good enough actors and actresses, and as a result, you're sticking them in a fish costume to get a cheap
No.
Well, there's no
and
water.
if I was a parent, I would have a lot of disrespect for that, actually.
This is not the nativity play.
No, do you know what it is? Just to really quickly fill you in.
So we'll get on with it. So, quickly, when you was in school, what play did you do?
Yeah, right, there's a couple of things about that. I didn't go to his school, which is, and Dan, I'm sure will back me up on this, is probably quite different in the way that they do school productions. You were, Artful Dodger in Oliver Twist?
I was Bill Sykes, mate.
Oh, Bill Sykes!
I was the only one who had a Cockney accent.
Oh, there you go. But then they're a bit more than just a normal school play. I went to a school where I was at a Catholic school, so there was lots of readings and hymns and prayers. So it wouldn't have been in the same
sort of Catholic school.
Yeah, the point I'm making is you're saying about my play. My school plays have been very different. I had to stand up.
So what was your school play?
I had to stand up and hold a piece of work. Oh, in year 6.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Right. Well, for copyright reasons, we couldn't do Grease, so it was called Jill. That's a true story. So
Let's just stop there, sir.
it was basically Grease. It was Grease with all the names changed. I don't know whose, for whatever reason, we couldn't do Grease.
Was it called Winter Lovin' as well?
No. There was a few songs in there, obviously, but yeah, there was. Yeah, I didn't actually have a part because I wasn't a very good actor, so I was Danny Zuko's
Window
understudy.
Sweeper 2 or whatever.
No, I was Danny Zuko's understudy, so I didn't even get in the play. It was just in case he was off.
That's because the guy had a leather jacket.
No, going really quickly back to the Finding. The good bit about the Finding Nemo thing is, no matter how crap the play is, what we've done is we've changed the script slightly so that there's loads of fish puns in there, and then every parent who comes in.
That's but setting the kids up for disaster.
No, so every parent who comes in has to count the number of fish references there are in the play. So even if they think it's absolute dire, they have to watch it so they can win the competition.
Other than it, so
you are deliberately disrespecting.
No.
So the play's going to be shit. Here you go. Have a crayon.
No, so what it is, they have to count.
You're making the parents do work.
Whoever can count the correct number of puns throughout the whole play gets a prize. So it basically ensures that their concentration, no matter how bad the play is on the play.
But we need to wrap
fish biscuit.
We need to wrap this up, so I'm only going to ask one more question. Presuming that these are mildly intelligent adults and all of them get the right answer because, it's 7-year-olds or to 11-year-olds stumbling through lines, what are you going to do if they all get the right number of fish puns?
Because there's a couple, so there's a few songs in there.
There'll be one serious parent out.
No, there's a few songs in there, so it's not just a script, that's what I mean, you've got to pay
But
attention.
I'm saying, what are you going to do if more than one person gets them all?
We might have to buy more Easter eggs.
And now it's time for Ramble of the Week.
I wanted to start this week, lads, with a talk about a league that gets a lot more focus in the international break. I think the international break is something we're not particularly big fans of because obviously it means a lot less football generally and you've got a few games staggered over days. I know Charlie's got some exciting ones from other continents, but in this continent's thing gets a bit boring.
Yeah, it gets a bit thin.
So I wanted to talk about the National League.
Yes.
It has been a brilliant season up there at the moment. There's some teams going at the top. It's a fantastic title race. Some surprise names in there, namely the 2 teams that both of you guys predicted to get relegated. And it gives me another chance to mention that. So,
then again, that team I did say were going to go down, they lost to Salford.
They did. To stay in 6th place in the league. So the reason I wanted to talk about, obviously there were 2 games on TV during the week, and there's one more coming up this weekend. So we saw Chesterfield's resurgence continue against Sutton United with a 3-0 home win. John Sheridan doing brilliantly there. And then, as you mentioned, Harrogate v Salford last night as we're recording this, Wednesday night, which Salford managed to sneak a victory out of. So what I wanted to do is try a little play-along quiz.
Yes.
So people who are listening can pause and guess the answers themselves as they're going along, if they so wish, or they can just listen to you two make a tit out of yourself.
Like you two normally do on Guess the Fine.
Yes.
Go on.
But I wanted this to lead into a bigger debate eventually of who's going to win the title, what's going on in the league, and why is it so much more competitive this year. But obviously I wanted to give you some data to back that up. Because I know Charlie won't get it himself.
Because we were smart asses come...
I must add, the one stat I really wanted to get was to find out how many players each team had used, which I haven't been able to do. But I've got plenty of others.
Because obviously it's different with the transfer windows and all that, isn't it?
Exactly.
Not with lack of windows, sorry.
Exactly. So we're going to go through plenty of different stats.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to have a bit of fun making tits of yourself.
Go for it.
So we're going to start with an old favourite which we did a few weeks ago for the EFL and Premier League. And that is, we're going to go through the fair play table. So, is fair play linked to success in a league? Let's find out.
I'm just waiting for the theme music to kick in after that.
Hold on. Cue the music.
We've done 5 minutes of Channel 5 talk at the start. I'm waiting for a quiz show host. Right, okay. We are going. Who has got the worst disciplinary record in the National League this year? I'll give you some stats first. They have, in 39 league games, which is one less than the team in second, had 76 cautions and 5 red cards. They have 362 disciplinary points. For those of you who can't remember the rules and how the point system works, 4 for a caution, 10 for 2 yellow cards or a denial of a goal scoring opportunity, or 12 points for violent conduct and gross offences. So, who's top? Who's the worst team in the National League?
Well, Craig's gone all Ben Shepherd on us with hosting skills.
Thank you. I'll take that. Tipping point and goals on Sunday, I'm available.
Go on, Craig, you go first.
I'm Ninja Warrior UK.
I'm going to go for Bromley.
You're going to go for Bromley, okay? And how about Charlie? And this is going to be plucked out of thin air, isn't it?
Yeah, Harrogate.
You are going for Harrogate. So it's quite interesting. Harrogate have got the 5th best. Bromley have got the 11th best.
Oh, sorry, Bromley.
But the top 2 worst is quite interesting because you've got a tale of 2 ends of the table. So the worst in the league, as we mentioned, Maidstone United.
Maidstone.
Second place, just 4 points behind, less cautions but 2 more dismissals, Solihull Moors.
Oh, really?
Oh.
So,
Well, yes,
yeah.
You see, that's why they should be near the bottom of the table.
Exactly, that's why we tipped them.
if that proves anything, it's that with this fair play stat, if we want to link it to how you're going to play in the National League, it's absolutely pointless. So that was a good one to start with.
So who was the best?
Who was the... We didn't do who was the best. It's a good job you're here, isn't it?
Ben Shepherd.
Right.
I've got to his head.
We can tell you're used to being Quizmaster.
Yeah.
Okay, the best team in the league...
Remarkably,
Remarkably, have 4 red cards.
Oh, that's good.
Only 41 yellows. The team above them, who are second best, only have... who are below them, second best. Because I saw your face there, Craig. They haven't had any red cards, but have had a whopping 57 yellows.
Wow.
So the best in the league. Who went for Havant and Waterloo?
I didn't.
Charlie, what are you going for, Craig?
Dagenham and Redbridge.
Dagenham and Redbridge. Well, Craig, you're close. They were 3rd.
Oh! Won't get a better chance than that.
Charlie, Havant and Waterlooville, 9th worst. The best team in the league, disciplinary, Barnet.
Oh!
Really?
And the team with no red cards, closely behind them.
No red cards.
The only team with no red cards in the league this season. Now, last time I said this, it was Coventry, and by the time the Ramble came out at 7 on Saturday, they'd had a player sent off. But it is AFC filed. They are the lunchtime game on BT Sport this week. So again, it could be irrelevant.
Before it goes out.
But as it stands, that's what it is. So there's the fair play table. Proves nothing when it comes to league position.
No.
I just wanted to test your knowledge now on top goal scorers. So, the top goal scorer in the league has 25 goals this season, 21 from open play,
I've got to guess him.
4 from the penalty spot. I'm going to give you 2 chances. 1 point if you can guess what club,
Right.
And 1 point if you can guess what player.
Okay, I've got a player in my head.
Okay.
It's Danny Rowe,
And what club?
AC Filed.
And Charlie Betts.
Someone from Solihull Moors.
Yusuf, innit?
I'm not going to
Yusuf?
pretend. There's no point in me trying to pretend. Yeah, go on.
Well, Solihull Moors' Yusuf is on 13 goals, and while that sounds not a lot, he is down in joint 6th or 7th place, so it's not too bad. Daniel Rowe of AFC Filed is top of the pole with 25
there
goals.
he is.
Very good striker.
Yeah, I'm not here for the National League.
If you took,
No one listens to me for expert advice on this. Go on.
if you took out penalties, he would actually only be joint top with Eastleigh's Paul McCallum.
Oh.
Interesting fact that.
Big
Because
guy, big centre
I
forward.
always-
he is,
He
Big
plays
centre
football.
forward.
lots of people always say top
He
goal
used to play.
scorers. What about penalties? You know, so taking the penalties out, they'd be equal. So that's
I
only
recognise
fair.
that name.
Now I wanted to move on to more general stats in the league. And this is just a complete stab in the dark, but it's going to be
That
interesting.
suits me. That's a lot better.
That's for Charlie's sake.
So, I want to know what is, or what has been so far this season, the most frequent half-time score and full-time score in the National League.
So it's the same. Oh, I see.
No,
Right,
no,
sorry,
so
yeah.
most frequent score at half-time, most frequent score at full-time. Is it a high-scoring league or a low-scoring
You
league?
know
I'll
what?
let
I'm
you go
going to go
first,
bold
Charlie.
on this. I'm going to go half-time 1-1
Okay,
and full-time 3-1.
okay.
I was going to say 1-1, but I'm going to say 2-1.
Can I just say, when you're saying 3-1 and 2-1, I need you to specify for the home or the away
Oh.
team.
Oh, God.
I'm doing this
More
properly.
often, home team then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to
Let's
say
go.
2-1 to the home team and then 3-2
3-2.
to
So
the away team.
it's interesting because you've both gone with a perception that the National League is a really high-scoring league. But, interestingly, the most frequent half-time score, 153 matches, which is 32% of the season so far,
Oh, he loves it.
He
the way
loves his
reels that off,
percentages.
doesn't
0-0 at half-time.
he? Really?
Wow.
The most frequent full-time score, 12% of the time in 56 matches, 1-1.
Oh.
So,
Really?
So
Wow.
it's quite a common
That's,
perception. It's something I wanted to talk about, is that it's quite often perceived to be a high-scoring league. When you get down to that level, you see more goals, more
Yeah,
attacking play, more
actually.
direct football. And actually, it's one of the lowest scoring leagues in the top 6 or 7 in England.
That's
So
quite weird.
it is quite weird.
I'm gonna talk that.
And I did check the 2 seasons before, and the pattern is completely different this year. So a lot more cagey at the top in the title race.
Go on,
That's because there is a title race.
There is a title race,
That's
which
because
makes a
it's title
change.
race, yeah.
Now, I want to do the last few. We're going to talk about teams, their individual squads, characteristics of the squad in general.
Okay.
So first one's first, we're going to go for the whole squad, average age, who has got the highest, and I'm going to give you a clue here, 2 teams, joint highest. How does it affect the league table? Are they doing successfully? Are they not? Let's find out.
I'm gonna go with the fact that a team lower down the league would have less of a budget, so a younger player is cheaper, which is a massive stereotype to make about that level of football.
Okay.
So based on that, I'm gonna go Maidstone. I'm gonna go Maidstone. Yeah.
What, being oldest?
You said youngest, didn't you?
I said oldest, but we're going to do
Oh,
both.
for fuck's sake! Oh, Jesus!
Let's put it into one for Charlie so he doesn't look quite stupid. Who's going to have the youngest and the oldest squad?
Maidstone, I'll go for youngest.
Yeah, I would agree. I would probably said for youngest, I would probably say Bromley as well, to be honest.
And
then
do you want
oldest,
the oldest?
I'll
You
go
go
for
first.
Chesterfield being oldest.
I'm gonna go just a little bit of a budget. Barnet.
Yeah. Oh no, I would have got Barney younger.
Interesting. So for the youngest, just to confirm, Charlie, youngest,
It was Maidstone.
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 Craig,
I
youngest.
said Bromley.
Bromley.
You did say Bromley. So you're both in the right region. You went for the bottom of the league.
Mm-hmm.
But you should have gone a bit lower. It's Braintree Town.
Oh,
really?
God, I forgot about
Braintree
them.
Town, average age of the squad, 23 years and 2 months.
Wow.
Wow.
At the other end, just to confirm, Chesterfield and Barnet were our 2 guesses. The oldest squads, joint, okay, so it's 28.6, so 28 years, 6 months, is...
Thanks for that.
I think I kind of guessed what
I know
it
you
was.
struggle with the maths,
No,
Charlie.
go on.
Is 7th and 8th placed, Eastleigh and Ebbsfleet.
Oh.
So we've had some payment issues with Ebbsfleet, and that's because they've got an older squad, and as you
Yeah.
say, that equals more money usually. So, but they're both doing quite
So
well in
the
the league.
logic was there. It was just my lack of understanding of the teams that killed me.
I guess that means that generally, the older your squad, the better you're doing, because they're both up in
Yeah,
7th and 8th, and
that's right,
Braintree are at the bottom. So
It's called experience.
experience wins titles. However,
Never went with kids.
I wanted to move on to the most interesting one, and it could be construed politically, but it's something we do unfortunately have to think about in football in the future. Number of foreign players in the playing squad. Now, I need to make one thing clear here. I have excluded Wrexham because every English player has been classed as foreign because they are obviously based in Wales.
23 teams to pick.
You've got 23 teams to pick from. I'm going to give you a clue.
It's Grimsby?
No, it's not Grimsby because they're not in that league, mate.
Will be soon, maybe.
2 teams have the lowest number, which is 1. And 1 team has the highest, which is 10 in their squad.
What? 10?
The highest team?
10?
Only because I'm going purely on money, I'm going to have to go Salford.
Okay.
I think, in terms of the lowest...
Oh, no.
God, do you know what?
Wow. 10 foreign players. Oh.
But don't forget that will include players who are... So say like
Welsh.
Alan Newton at...
Welsh or...
Yeah, so
Yeah.
on where they're English and they've got St Kitts and Nevis and things like that, so...
I'll go Bromley. I think he's had it a couple of times.
For the highest or lowest?
So I went Salford
Lowest.
highest, Bromley lowest.
I'm going to say Harrogate for lowest.
Okay.
And for highest, I probably would say Chesterfield, to be honest.
Okay. So one of you has got one of the joint lowest correct. And that man is Craig Savage.
Oh!
And this is a really interesting one for me because the 2 teams with the joint lowest number of foreign players in the squad with 1 is Solihull Moors and Harrogate.
Sorry, I was trying to get...
Well, we know... to be fair, Charlie said the striker earlier. He's obviously the foreign player.
It's the foreign player.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Dual
Okay.
nationality, yeah.
Yeah, he scored a penalty against Hitchin in the FA Cup first round, which me and Cody went to.
And Charlie Betts bought a ticket for,
Yeah.
which is still here probably. For the most foreign players, I can confirm you're both wrong. And if you think about it, for proximity, you could probably understand the reasons because it's just a hop on the Channel Tunnel even.
Dover.
It's Dover Athletic.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
And they have 10 foreign players in their squad.
Wow.
So, that I believe concludes my
I'll go down.
my stats from the National League, some of which we have proven are irrelevant for league
I thought it
position.
was really interesting.
But I
That is quite
thought
intriguing.
the one that really intrigued me was the foreign players one because it's something we mention in this country a lot at the top level, which is when clubs are trying to survive in the Premier League or go up from the Championship, it's we've got to bring in foreign players because they're cheaper, because we haven't got enough talent in this country. It's something we've always said about technical ability. But then in the National League, if we've got low-scoring games where players are working to a good tactical plan defensively, and 2 of the teams in the title race are teams that have come up who have been successful with British players, does that not prove we have talent in this country? Obviously, aided with foreign players, it can be fantastic, but does it not prove we need to give our youth more of a chance?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, you look at the teams, like, we've got an England C team, obviously, with that concise...
I meant to mention that last week. I actually watched that while I was on my residential. England
Oh, yes, you did.
versus Wales.
So, yeah, it
Oh, some cracking players. I mean, you could see the gulf, with all due respect, you could see the gulf between the Welsh National League, the Welsh Premier League and the National League. I mean, they are borderline professional. I mean, there's a lad from Luton there, the fullback.
Luke
Trotman.
Yeah, he had a cracking
I mean,
game.
if he hadn't broken his leg, he possibly would have made it a Luton when they were in the National League.
But that's the sort of calibre of players you're getting in the National League now. I think, that you are right. I think that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
And I guess the one thing we should finish on is the league table, which is obviously the most important stat of them all, which is the one we haven't mentioned yet.
No.
So, there is
Very
a hot title race in the National League. So, a lot of people have mentioned League One during the international break, so there were like 12 teams who could go down within 9 points of each other.
Still tight.
But at the top of the National League, we have got 6 teams within 9 points of each other, which with between 6 and 8 games to go, depending on games in hand, is ridiculous at that
And you
level,
consider,
really.
midweek and all of that, it's going to be
it's gonna be
quite a lot of
Tuesday
games to
night.
get in a short space of time, isn't there? So, yeah.
So that makes the difference. Leighton Orient are top by 2 points, and in theory, they're favourites. They've got 2 games in hand, but as you
They've
mentioned,
got to win them
that
first,
means a
yeah.
bit like Sunderland in League One in April. They've got a game every midweek there as well.
It's quite interesting because obviously you just said about Leighton Orient being top. Yeah, they didn't come out, I assume, on any of your stats, they didn't come out on top of any of them in terms of lowest or highest age. And
So
all
then
this.
have you hit the nail on the head? Does it prove that despite all the stats about highest, lowest and people looking for things, that you just need to have a healthy balance?
Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah.
They've got an average amount of foreign players, an average budget, an average fair
age,
play record, and it seems to be working well for
Mix of
them.
young and old. Yeah, no, I think that seems to be.
And the fact
working
they've got
well.
Macaulay Bonne up front obviously helps them quite a lot.
Yeah.
So essentially, we've just
And funny
discovered.
enough, we didn't even mention when he scored.
We've just discovered an algorithm to win the National League. Is that what we're saying?
An absolute average happy medium in every stat in the league. And that concludes the shittest stats reel you'll ever get.
Oh, I think that's quite interesting. I've learned a lot there.
I've learned a lot about the National League.
Would you like to go through something that we touched on about 2 weeks ago, which was the African Cup of Nations qualifiers?
Yes, it's
which
happened.
awkwardly started and finished around the time we were recording an episode, so we couldn't quite go through all of the results last week.
Yes.
So we're going to go
So
through them
Charlie, tell me what happened.
Well, I won't go through. I'll go through every group. I won't go through every explicit detail because some of the groups stayed the same, and there's no point really going into so much about that. But there was a few changes and some interesting results.
I'm really upset I found one of them out.
Oh, really?
Because
I've kind of seen a couple now, not gonna lie.
I was watching a completely different sports event and I just decided to mention it.
Oh
And
yeah,
it really
there was a couple. There was some negative things around it. We're definitely going to talk about them. So
Yes.
Group A. That stayed the same because Senegal and Madagascar were already through. Senegal picked up another 3 points, as did Equatorial Guinea, who beat Sudan.
And as myself and Craig mentioned, when we're recording during the summer and watching it on British Eurosport, hopefully, we will both be supporting Madagascar.
Absolutely.
But for footballing reasons and no other because they get annoyed by that. Right, so Group...
I love your jungle.
It's a beautiful country.
So Group B, there was a game to be decided, which was Cameroon and Comoros. I apologise for the pronunciation. So Cameroon were on 8 points, Comoros were on 5, but they needed an 8-goal swing. Unfortunately, Cameroon beat Comoros, and so they actually finished bottom of the group. So they started third and then finished bottom. So the two teams to qualify out of there were Morocco and Cameroon.
Which is probably as you'd expect, I would say.
Morocco drew with Malawi, who couldn't qualify anyway. So that was a bit of a dead rubber, that game. Right, Group C was where it got a little bit more exciting. So in Group C, you had Mali, who were on 11 points.
Just before you go, by the way, the new Mali shirt, if anyone
incredible.
It's
unbelievably good.
Incredible. So you had Mali, who were on 11 points, Burundi, who were on 9 points, Gabon, who were on 7 points, and South Sudan, who unfortunately got tanked by everyone. So it was all to play for between Burundi and Gabon for second place.
Yeah.
The game finished 1-1, which guaranteed Burundi's qualification.
Nice.
Interestingly, Daniel Kuzan, who we mentioned, manager of Gabon, signed a contract at the beginning of the month, been relieved of it already.
Well.
So he signed a new contract, taking through for 10 months his contract, so that's pretty much what that'd be, like January time.
To the end of the African Nations.
And because they didn't qualify, they binned him off, basically.
If you don't be successful, this is what happens.
Yeah, so unfortunately, which seems a bit silly, because they basically, his contract went past March, so I don't know why I gave him a new one, because I assume they'd have had to have given him some sort of compensation.
To get to the summer, because that's when
just let it roll.
What I want to know is what's happened to the most controversial man in Gabonese football. I presume it's Gabonese, I apologise if it's not, which is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's dad, who has obviously caused a lot of controversy.
So Aubameyang's not going to be in the African Cup of Nations?
No, he won't be, no.
Wow.
They finished first.
That's great news for Arsenal.
It's in the summer, it doesn't really affect it too much now. I guess pre-season.
It could get injured. Yeah, exactly, pre-season.
So
tour to somewhere stupid.
Group D, Algeria were on 10 points, Benin were on 7, Gambia were on 5, so it was all to play for second place between Benin and Gambia, and Togo were also on 5, so all 3 teams could have got through on there. Benin beat Togo 2-1, Adebayor scored, but it wasn't enough to get them through, so unfortunately Togo finished bottom of the group, and Gambia unfortunately only drew with Algeria, which meant that they now finished in 3rd place, which guaranteed Benin's passage through. Had Algeria maybe put out a weakened team, Gambia might have got through at the expense of Benin, but that didn't happen, unfortunately.
No,
so
Algeria are a good side anyway.
Yeah. Group E this was really exciting because you had Nigeria, who were on 10 points, South Africa, who were on 9 points, and Libya, who were on 7 points. Unfortunately, the Seychelles were gone. South Africa beat Libya 2-1.
Oh no.
And therefore, the group actually stayed the same, but it was quite tight before that. So Nigeria and South Africa through.
Yeah,
bit of a shame for Libya, really, but unfortunately, you
Come on, I want to see a shock. Where's the shocks?
So Group F is all on it. It was all in the second half of the draw. Group F was a write-off because Ghana, Kenya, and Ethiopia. You had Sierra Leone in there who couldn't play, as we mentioned. Ethiopia were gone. Ghana beat Kenya, so then they actually topped the group. I don't actually know because I didn't do enough research to find out if that has any bearings on seedings, whether you finished top of the group.
We don't care about coefficients.
Right. So Group G, this is where it got really exciting because any 4 of these teams could have qualified.
This is the big one.
So Zimbabwe were on 8 points. Democratic Republic of Congo were on 6 points. Liberia were on 7 points. So I've done it wrong. I've got the table after. Sorry, I'll do that again. Zimbabwe were on 8 points. Liberia were on 7 points, Democratic Congo were on 6 points, and the Congo were on 5 points.
Okay. Which Congo got through?
So Zimbabwe beat Congo, so the Congo. Congo Zimbabwe topped the group, now on 11 points.
And the Congo definitely out.
It then basically comes as a straight shootout between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Liberia. Remember, Liberia were a point ahead of them, so they just needed a draw.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Democratic Congo beat Liberia 1-0 with a 52nd minute goal by Cedric Bakambu, who now is a national hero because he's made the...
Does he play for Villarreal?
Good I don't know. I didn't check that.
I
But
recognise his name, that's all.
they've managed to leapfrog Liberia and have made it through. So now at that group, Zimbabwe and the Democratic Republic of Congo.
DR Congo have made hard work of that because they've got some bloody good players. Yannick Bolasti's up there as well.
Oh, yes, he is. Great player.
Group H, that stayed the same. So we had Guinea and the Ivory Coast who have qualified.
No shocks there.
No.
Central African Republic needed a ridiculous goal swing, even if they had beaten Guinea, who were top, but they didn't, so they drew. So Ivory Coast beat Rwanda, and Guinea drew 1-1 with Central African Republic. Right, Group I, that got really close. So you had Mauritiana, who were top on 12 points, Angola, who was second on 9 points, Burkina Faso, who were third on 7 points. Botswana are out of it, so they can. Mauritiana actually lost to Burkina Faso, who were in third, who were on 7 points, then on 10.
Right.
Mauritiana are already on 12, so they were through, but they could have got to second.
Yeah.
What Burkina Faso needed was Angola to draw with Botswana. So if Angola get a draw, then Mauritiana and Burkina Faso get through at the expense of Angola.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Angola absolutely demolished Botswana, so Angola topped the group on goal difference. Mauritiana sneaked into second, and Burkina Faso unfortunately missed out by 2 points.
And isn't it nice? For the first time, we're talking about a proper African story, and we're just talking about football.
Yeah, exactly. And do you know what? What I love about this, and I'll finish off the groups, there's only 3 left. Compared to the European qualifiers, which, with all due respect, you watch some of them, they're just dead rubbers.
There's no more than one.
England's group is already a dead rubber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas at least this is all going down. Group J was unfortunately decided beforehand. Tunisia and Egypt managed to get through, and that stayed the same. They both got results they needed. Egypt drew, and Tunisia won. Group K. Right, so Mozambique, unfortunately.
I've never seen someone make reading a table look so.
No, I know. It's really... So we had Guinea-Bissau, who were top on 8 points.
Okay, this was a good group for us.
Yeah, we had Namibia, who was second on 8 points.
Yes.
We had Mozambique, who were third on 7 points.
Yes.
And we had Zambia, who were in last place on 4 points.
So they can't get through.
No, they can't get through, unfortunately. However,
but they can have a big influence.
Heartbreaking, because Zambia, who were bottom, beat Namibia, who were in second place. So that means Namibia stayed on 8 points. Zambia on 7 points now. Meaning, before that game, Guinea-Bissau were on 8 points. Mozambique were on 7 points. Mozambique needed to get a win, but they drew with Guinea-Bissau. So we've got 2 teams
on 8 points. What's
so
the goal difference?
Guinea-Bissau have gone through. Okay. Namibia, goal difference 2 plus 2.
Plus 2.
Mozambique, goal difference 0.
Oh, no.
So unfortunately, they went out on 2 goals that cost them.
I can't remember who it is. They used to have a really average Football League player, and I always used to sign him on Football Manager. I wish I could remember his name. I'm sure he was at Southampton or something as a kid.
Doesn't surprise me.
I'll get the name for next week.
And the last group, Group L, Uganda had walked the group. They were ahead of everyone else. They unbelievably, they actually lost. But anyway, they lost to Tanzania, who before the game were on 5 points. That puts them on 8.
Okay.
We also had Lesotho, who were on 5 points. So they needed to beat bottom of the table Cape Verde, who were on 4 points.
This is an
so 3 teams could have got through. As we say, Tanzania beat Uganda. That put them on 8 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if Lesotho won, they had a plus 4 goal difference, whereas Tanzania only had a 1. So if Lesotho won, they'd have gone through on goal difference.
Yes.
But unfortunately, they drew with Cape Verde, so
that would have been
they
a
were
story
on
as well.
6 points. Yeah, it was up because they were actually in second because their goal difference was obviously better. So it was sad really because it's such a tiny country.
So I guess based on most of the groups going the way I guess seedings would expect, that means that when we're supporting Madagascar for their fantastic jungle, we're actually supporting the underdogs.
So
we like supporting the underdogs.
Really quickly, teams to follow this summer. So you've got Senegal, Madagascar, Morocco, Cameroon, Mali, Burundi, Algeria, Benin, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Democratic Republic of Congo, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Angola, Mauritiana, Tunisia, Egypt, Guinea-Bissau, Namibia, Uganda and Tanzania. And that will be your African Cup of Nations.
And when's the draw, Charlie?
That is an excellent question that I don't know the answer to because I spent
I'm sorry, mate.
You waited for that.
I spent all my energy trying to work out what was going on in the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which we'll talk about in a bit. Right, have you got something about Nuneaton or something?
Yes, so I thought we wanted to split the international qualifiers and we wanted to split the non-league stories. So we're going to go back to non-league and we're going to talk about a side that we've mentioned quite a few times this season.
And unfortunately, it's just been a season to forget.
Unfortunately, again, as you say, it's mainly for matters off the pitch, and that theme continues today. So we are talking about National League North side, not for much longer, Nuneaton Borough,
I'm sure they'll be relegated by now.
Are they 20 points adrift or something random like that, aren't they?
Absolutely mad. But they have had some good news this week.
Oh.
They have had a winding up order, or a winding up petition, against them, adjourned after they paid an outstanding tax bill this week. So they have managed to coop up enough to pay the debt. It was £32,000 that the action was over, and they've paid off enough of it for it not to be a worry at the moment. So the case has been adjourned until the 1st of May, because there was a donation from a local businessman. We'd mentioned it before, not about getting them through following seasons, but to try and get them to the end of this season.
Yeah.
A bit similar to the situation we mentioned with Obi Town a couple of weeks back. So the club returns to court on Thursday. They're going to be applying for a validation order, and that means they can unfreeze their bank accounts and basically trade as a club again.
Right.
So this has given them a chance to get to the end of season, organise and restructure the club, because they've got to prove that they're able to cut costs, manage at a lower level, and be able to sustain their costs over a season, because otherwise they won't be allowed to go into the league.
Sustainability is normally the key.
So we had it before with Boston, where they went down and then they got demoted another league because they couldn't prove they could do it in the equivalent division.
Yeah.
So it's going to be quite an important summer for them, but I just thought it would be nice for the first time this season with Nuneaton to talk about some good news, which is the fact that they've managed to pay off a few of their debts. It's come from donations, all from businessmen in the local area, which is obviously a great thing. It's something that clubs that support the community often then end up needing the help of the community. And we mention a lot of times where clubs turn their back on it, particularly at the elite level. We've mentioned it with the Premier League. And then, in the end, who is it that suffers? It's the fans who go around begging with buckets and things like that. But if you keep that fan base in the community, you keep your links with the local connections, it means that they're willing to help you out in times of need. And I just thought it was a lovely story. They are going to be relegated, of course. They're 20 points from safety, as you mentioned. They will be relegated this weekend if they fail to beat fellow strugglers, who a couple of us predicted to go down, FC United of Manchester.
Yeah.
And the other permutation in that is Guiseley winning at home to York City, which is a team that Charlie Betts predicted to go down in Guiseley. And I predicted York to win the league, but that's completely irrelevant now because they're nowhere near.
Because, we know what's going to happen with York, RIP.
But some positive news for Nuneaton, and good to see them going for the rest of the season, because at that level you don't want league tables to have teams being expunged and things like that.
We will mention later on what's happened to North Area United.
Yes, which isn't far below that level.
No, it's not.
Shall we talk very quickly about the CONCACAF Gold Cup Nations League? Honestly, can I just quickly say, this come across me when a little story about Montserrat appeared. They've been sort of the headline story of this whole competition. This then sent me down a wormhole of stuff that I didn't even know existed about the CONCACAF. So you've got the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which is the championships of North America,
Central
and the Caribbean.
Caribbean. Yes.
So it used to be that you just qualified as normal, like a lot of other competitions, and you played the Gold Cup.
Yep. What
they've decided to do this year, and it's the first year, and this is why it's so confusing, was they copied the European model of the Nations League.
Oh, God,
but they did it a bit more that the qualification to the Gold Cup linked to the Nations League. So the problem is, to rank the teams in the Nations League, they obviously need to play each other, don't they? Because you need to have the promotion relegation. So they
could have just used the world ranking, right?
That would have been the sensible thing to do. So 10 teams from the top 10 teams from the Nations League qualify for the Gold Cup, plus the 6 teams who managed to qualify for last year's World Cup.
Right,
so there's 6 teams who didn't have to take part in this competition who are already in next March's CONCACAF Gold Cup.
And then presumably when they carry on their equivalent of the Nations League in the future, they'll be in the top division.
Yeah, they'll be in League A or whatever they call it, League 1, League A. So those 6 teams are Mexico, United States, Costa Rica, Panama, Honduras and Trinidad.
Why did Mexico have to? Why did America not have to qualify? They didn't make the World Cup.
That is what I assume done on the rankings. It's the top 6 in terms of that.
Quick side note.
United States are hosting it as well.
Quick side note on that. Panama drew with Brazil last week.
They did a great result for Panama.
And
shows just how much worse Brazil are than us.
So this is where it got ridiculously confusing. They then, using the FIFA rankings, they then grouped the teams from 1. This is not including the 6 teams who are already in the cup.
Okay.
From 1 all the way down to 34. Because there was 35 teams.
So they're playing games to rank them, but before they played those games to rank them,
this is what I mean. It's so confusing. Okay. You had
you said it was 1 to 34
because Guatemala have been sususpended by FIFA. I'm not sure why. I didn't want to go down that road. From that, so for example, Jamaica were the top team after that, all the way down to the British Virgin Islands, who were last. This was pre-tournament. This is where it got stupid, in my opinion, because the top...
This is where it got stupid. It's not stupid.
No,
it wasn't stupid before you decided to.
They then, obviously, the top 6 from this group, this is not including the 6 that are already there, they go through to League A and qualify for the Gold Cup.
Right.
The next 4 will go into League B and qualify for the Gold Cup.
Right.
The next 11 just qualify for League B, so they'll be in the same.
What?
Hang on, we've got 4 and 11. That's 15.
Yeah. So this is where I don't.
3 groups of 5, I presume.
3 groups of 5.
That's fine.
But of that, only the top 4 out of that, make it through to the Gold Cup.
That's fine because you've got to get your numbers.
And then the rest are split between Group C and Group D.
That's not as bad as I thought.
No,
No,
this is where it gets.
I need a picture. I need to see it.
You haven't heard the mad bit of it.
Oh, dear.
So there's 30 odd teams. You can't play all of them to decide who's going to go through. So
Craig's out at this point.
So they do an aggregate. What they do is you play 4 games.
Oh, so you haven't got to play all 15 teams?
No.
But those 4 games,
forever.
this is where it's stupid. Those 4 games are where they're decided on. They took the FIFA rankings, split the teams that were left into 4 equal groups.
Which is what they could have just done to start with and
So
just
you
started
had
from the groups.
Pot A, Pot B, Pot C, and Pot D.
A, B and P.
Right, now explain to me how this makes any sense. The 4 fixtures are, you would think they would just pull 4 teams out of your pot and you play against them. But obviously then you'd be playing against teams of a similar standard.
Yes,
and you could have teams who qualify who shouldn't qualify. So, the first round of fixtures, teams from Pot A play teams from Pot D.
Okay. What's the point?
And then teams from Pot B play teams from Pot C. The second fixture, Pot A plays C, B versus D.
So it's just like a 14 group.
Yeah, the problem is that then you get some ridiculous scores. So the first round of fixtures, I'll read out some of them. You had Cuba 11, Turks and Caicos Islands 0. This is all in the first round. Haiti 13, San Martin 0. Curacao 10, Grenada 0. What's another one we've got here? Canada 8, US Virgin Islands 0. Just scores were ridiculous.
What's the point?
Well,
how's that helping
Exactly,
the beautiful game?
Exactly, yeah. So then as you go through the fixtures, the scores get a bit tighter. Just to give you a bit of context.
Because obviously they're playing closer teams.
By fixture 4, most of the scores, so you got I won't read out the teams, but really quickly. So match day 4, 2-2, 2-1, 3-0, 3-2, 2-1. You can see it's a lot more closer. Yeah. So that then meant that we then had an average, and they just do that of those teams, how many qualify they in a league, like so. So
wow,
got 1 all the way through down to 10 who make it through to the Gold Cup.
I think at this point we need to say, if you haven't go and look up the images of what this table looks like, because if you love the beautiful game, you might not answer this.
So I'll bin off the rest of it, but
could you imagine
the story was. So we had teams. So you had Haiti, who ended up top in the group with 12 points. Canada, Martinique, I can't pronounce these. Curacao, Bermuda, Cuba, Guyana, managed by Michael Johnson, ex.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that because he got commended for getting them to the
first time they've ever got there.
Cup, yeah.
Jamaica actually finished 8th, so Jamaica lost one. I'll work out later who that was. Nicaragua and then El Salvador. They were on 9 points. Montserrat, who were in 11th, so obviously in League B, but didn't make the Gold Cup.
They missed out narrowly.
Were also on 9 points. They missed out by 2 goals, unfortunately. There's a cool story if you get a chance to look at it, because actually 6 or 7 of the lads were all from like the same sort of borough in London, or the same part of London, all played together. There's a couple now who are in non-league and things like that. The issue was, and this is where the story twists a little bit, they had to beat the Cayman Islands, who were in Group D now, to get through, and they beat them 2-1. The issue was afterwards, they said that there was an ineligible player playing for the Cayman Islands. So instead of the result being 2-1 to Montserrat, it would have been 3-0. And that then would have put them through on
game
goal
changer.
difference of 1 goal. So the ineligible player, though, wasn't that he wasn't of a national or anything like that. It was whether he got booked or not. So this is where it gets interesting. The Cayman Islands...
So he would have been suspended for it?
Well, that's the thing. They couldn't work out if he was, because the Cayman Islands played Jamaica.
Yeah.
Jamaica won. There was a player called Fredericks who was booked in the game. So he wasn't suspended yet in the 91st minute. After the game, there was a mass brawl in which a few karate kicks were thrown and stuff.
About right.
Because of the lack of... The referee didn't put it in his report. Because of the lack of videos and all that watching it, they couldn't work out when the referee was brandishing cards whether this Fredericks was booked again or sent off for the fighting. And if he was sent off, he would have then been ineligible for the game that he played against Montserrat.
Wow.
Unfortunately, they couldn't clear it up, so the benefit of the doubt had to go with. They couldn't work out who was sent off, who was booked, and all of that.
Proven guilty, yeah.
Essentially, yeah. So, unfortunately, Montserrat have had to miss out by that 2 goals.
As much as...
When it all costs, eh, coach?
No, as much...
When it all costs?
Hang on. As much as Montserrat, it would have been a lovely story for them to go through.
Yes.
I am glad it was settled on the results on the pitch. That's all I can say on that. As much as it's a shame for Montserrat, we want the 90 minutes between the lines to decide what happens, not some shit in a boardroom afterwards, which completely makes the game you've just played completely irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Montserrat, they beat Aruba 2-0, who Aruba are in the bottom group, so you could say, maybe they should have scored a few more, etc. But it's an unbelievable effort, and
Basically, it shows that as much as we complain about the European model for qualifying and the fact that it does lead to some dead rubbers and some boring games, there's a lot worse out there.
Exactly.
And you can see why they go for the simple group structure of a team.
Exactly. That's the Nations League is a lot better than what we just got complicated right now.
I mean, I'll happily admit I was a sceptic of the Euro Nations League, and I still am in terms of the validity of the tournament, but the structure of it is very good.
Yes.
And I will say, for this CONCACAF one, now it's up and running, it should be easy in the next coming, tournaments that they run. But the initial setup of that was just crazy.
And can I also say, for my final point on this, that I am so bloody glad it's going to be domestic football next week.
Shall we move on to any other business?
Why not, Craig? I hear you're taking the lead on this because you've got a lot of stories.
I'm going to carry on with the international theme. And it's something that Charlie will... go on. Obviously, Gerard Piqué has retired from Spain.
I saw this.
So, he was playing for Catalonia.
Right. Which is wants to be an independent...
Which wants to be an independent country. But we're not going to go political on this.
No, we do need to mention that they're not recognised
as a
FIFA nation, which means that it doesn't matter he's played for Spain.
So, not obviously you away from FIFA, but players like Piqué and Martin Montoya for Brighton, Mark Bartra, Omar Romeo.
I saw Xavi got called up as well.
Xavi got called up.
He
got club commitments with his side in Qatar. So they played Venezuela.
Right.
So, funny enough, Catalonia 1-2-1.
Well, I'm not surprised. You listen to the squad they've got.
They've basically got a Premier League / Championship squad across the board, haven't they?
So it's just quite weird. Obviously now all these international players from Spain are now taking part for Catalonia.
It depends how... I was in there recently.
Considering, obviously, if they do get the independence and FIFA and UEFA recognise them, obviously not many players are going to be playing for them because obviously they've already played for Spain.
Well, it leads to a debate, I'd say, for last week, slightly different, but where countries have become recognised nations, and more importantly, what do the players then do?
Yeah.
And the example I want to use for this is Kosovo recently.
Yes.
Because they became an independent nation, and you may remember there was a bit of a kerfuffle with... I just wanted to get that word in there. With Xherdan Shaqiri, because he's obviously Kosovan, but he chose to play for Switzerland because that was the only nation he was eligible for who were FIFA recognised. And if his argument was, well, if Kosovo had been, I would have probably chosen to play for them. And obviously he doesn't have that option now because he's played for Switzerland and it's against the rules if you play competitive games. Obviously not the case with friendlies, as we've seen with Declan Rice and people like that. Which we're not going to go into.
Ludicrous.
It's ludicrous. If you play for the national team, you've played for them.
Yes.
Unless your nation then becomes a FIFA nation. Because then surely you've now got an option you didn't have before.
I'll tell you what would be interesting to see as well. I mean, if they ever do get independence, is what the impact that it would have on the future Spanish team. Because if you look at just say, I know it didn't, but 10 years ago, Catalan had become independent. Would the Spain team have been as dominant as they would have been? It's just an interesting debate.
It'd be hard for Barcelona and Espanyol as well because obviously they won't be able to play.
There's a whole manner of... I was there recently, as I mentioned quite a few times in one podcast, but I will say, there was lots of marches right there. I think they are vehemently behind this, so it could be a reality quite...
I guess in terms of politics, I don't want to go into it, but in terms of what you mentioned about the effect on the playing squad and the nations... It's a bit like, obviously, when East and West Germany split.
Yes.
And then you had this big pool of talent, and suddenly they were playing for the same nation. And you had, we saw what happened with Germany in the last couple of World Cups. They won the 2014 one. And it could be a reverse effect for Spain. Yeah. But we've also got to worry about it here in the UK. Because obviously, we've mentioned about Cornwall before.
I saw another one of that fucking recently about,
What happened?
Honestly, wound me up.
If Yorkshire becomes a country, Charlie, what happens then?
That one baffles me more. But there's some genuine ones. I'm not even going down that.
But what we need to do is we're not getting involved in the politics, but we want to talk about the football in effect, which is that
it's nice to see a Catalan beat Venezuela. I know obviously Venezuela not the strongest of teams.
Also, the shirt was lovely.
The shirt was fantastic.
Really nice.
Can I jump in with just my one and only any other business?
Go for it.
And it's going to turn into a very quick debate. I don't know what your thoughts on this are. So Glentoran of Northern Ireland are in...
You love Northern Ireland.
No, but it's genuine interesting debate. So they sat there... Well, not the Saturday manager. The long-term manager left They got another fella in from the league below. Now, bear in mind, this is part-time football. They're in 7th place, which puts them in the qualifiers within their league to possibly get to Europe.
That's 4th to 7th, isn't it?
Yeah, and they played Europe. But
never got that high.
if you win that, you obviously need to already have, I think it's like a European licence, basically, to go in there. Their manager, because he came from the league below, he's only part-time football.
He doesn't have a UEFA licence.
He's still doing his A licence.
Yeah.
So they're now considering sacking him, despite him actually now getting 5 wins out of the last 8 games, 4 of which are on the bounce. He's really turned the club around, who were struggling for the size of them in a city club.
Would it not be beneficial? Talking about debates of an easier way around it, could they not employ an assistant manager or a joint manager?
Yeah.
Or an assistant manager is going to be a joint manager with the UEFA A licence, just so it fulfills the criteria.
The thing is there someone who's willing to do that and essentially just be the front for it?
And again, all it shows is that politics is ruling.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
And I've never understood this with the UEFA licences. Is the UEFA B you can manage in professional football, but to manage in European competitions you need a UEFA A.
Yeah.
So why is the UEFA B called UEFA B if you then can't use it in UEFA competitions?
Yeah. And he's still it's not that he's doing it, but obviously it takes time. There's certain criteria to filter.
I would understanding or my idea would be that if you are taking the licence, if they want to keep the stupid rule in place, if you're taking the licence and you can see they're taking it, then just let them manage in a fucking competition.
But as it stands at the minute, they can't, so they're considering possibly sacking him. I mean, this is all in the thing. They've still got to obviously get through these little playoffs in the league.
If they think he's the right manager, even if it means they miss out on Europe this year due to that stupid rule, which getting through the playoffs as 7th place is unlikely.
Yeah, exactly, very unlikely.
He should keep him for another year, and if he's that kind of manager, he might avoid the playoffs altogether and finished his licence, and suddenly you're in a better position as a club. It seems like one of those stupid short-term fixes, which ends up not being a fix at all.
No, exactly.
And he has to pay a lot of money to take his UEFA A licence anyway.
I'd imagine if he's at a club, it'd be subsidised.
Well, he's going to lose his job from it.
Yeah, but as long as it's paid for, who cares?
Go on, Craig.
Right, last couple of things for me. Obviously, seen on Twitter, Galatasaray's under 14 captain. Begnaz Almaz played during the week and lost his balance. Referee incorrectly ordered him a penalty. So what did he do? He deliberately clicked it wide because
I appreciate his gesture, and it was a very lovely gesture. It was definitely a dive. I'm sorry. I know he's 14. It was a dive.
My problem with this is, obviously there's been the video doing the rounds.
Yes.
Is that when he, as Charlie says, dives, or let's say stumbles under less contact, because even if he slipped or tripped, that's fine, but he then stares at the referee.
He just proved his
So the gesture of correcting your error instantly, plenty of respect for, because there are a lot of pros who don't do that. And I guess I know to say about more riding on the game, but then do you win at all costs or do you play the game fairly? But with that, I would say, why are you doing it in the first place?
Yeah.
And hopefully, my hope is that having corrected the error and having the common sense to do that in the future, he'll then not make the error in the first place. But he's young, he'll learn, he's naive, but wonderful action in the end, because I'm sure there would have been at least one coach there saying, put it in.
Yeah.
We need the win.
Robbie Fowler and McAteer.
Yeah,
so basically, if they had a Craig Savage.
I would.
What a win, lads! I'm so happy.
And I like to say win or cost, but I
No, it's a lot of time.
But yeah, a lot of respect for the reaction there.
Right, going to move back home. Obviously, North Area United had to fold a couple weeks ago. So the Northern Premier League have decided to expunge the playing record of North Area United. It's led to a number of changes.
Does that have an impact on what's?
It has led to a hell of a title race.
The biggest beneficiaries are South Shields, who they lost 3-0 to North Area United early in the season.
Yeah.
That's now been wiped off.
Have they still got Julio Arca?
No, he's retired now. He's retired last season. But fellow title rivals Farsley, Celtic and Warrington both lost 6 points because they've obviously beaten them.
Yeah.
So Farsley Celtic still occupy top spot, but their 4-point lead over South Shields has now been cut to just a point. With the goal difference now worse than South Shields. Warrington remain 4 points behind the leaders, although they have slipped to third and now 3 points behind South Shields. Gainsborough Trinity have slipped to 6th, below Buxton's side, who have only lost 1 point due to Ferriby's liquidation. At the bottom, Grantham move up to 17th, who are now 8 points clear of the drop zone, while Workington...
What? Where were they before that, sorry?
At the bottom, Grantham have moved up to 17th. Don't know where they were before.
Right.
And now 8 points clear.
So they could have been 18th then?
It could have been 19th.
I thought you meant...
He's looked at the table, seen a little up arrow.
I thought you meant they were second bottom and then due to all these results they've suddenly jumped up.
In theory, North Ferriby could have done a double over them.
Yeah, true.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I thought he meant. Sorry, right, yeah, go Okay.
Yeah, so Workington and Mickleover Sports now funds.
It does highlight to you though that someone's mismanagement of this, that, and the other, the impact it can have.
£7,000 has made a huge impact at the top of the table.
Shafted.
The problem for me at that stage of the season, 6 points could be from we're comfortably safe, or I think we're going to be safe, to we could be relegated. And you know as well as anyone that at March or April you start planning for next year. You start thinking, what lads do I need to get rid of based on being in this division? These lads aren't going to cut it. Suddenly, you're going to be in the division below. Yeah. And at that level, your semi-pro clubs, you're playing teams, playing players between 100 250 a week. That can have a huge impact on your playing budget if you're then suddenly going to get 50 less people through the gate buying a player.
Well, you've got to remember, one team goes off automatically in this league. And obviously you've got your playoffs.
They've changed the playoff system.
Yes, like per game.
And then it works out per division. They play teams from other divisions. So it's going to be an absolutely huge effect. And I just wanted to mention Warrington Town because you mentioned them as a club at the top.
Yes.
The one thing I remember about them was their FA Cup tie against Exeter. Yeah. When it came back onto BBC, it was one of the first ties.
It was one of the first games, yeah.
And it was a brilliant cup tie.
It was fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant.
That was a proper cup tie.
Yes, it was.
And now I'll end with some positive news. So do you remember what happened in the summer of 2007?
The summer of 2007? I finished my year 9 sacks.
I think I went to see the Arctic Monkeys at Wembley. That was about it too.
Good. Well, it was a very wet summer.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, no, I
know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So
brilliant story. This
one team that suffered from it was Gloucester City. Obviously, their ground was completely flooded from the.
Right. I mean, we say about 3 foot of water.
Oh yeah,
it was nearly to the crossbar.
Yeah, it was probably bad. So obviously, they haven't played there since obviously all the floodings have happened. So from next season, they've formally applied to both the FA and the National League to play their games at their new ground for next season. At the moment, they were ground sharing at Cheltenham.
Yeah, Wadham Road.
Wadham Road. They're currently ground sharing at Easham's United Jubilee Stadium. The club has submitted a revised planning application to a scaled-down version of the new ground on the Meadow Park in January. A statement of the club official website said the club wishes to confirm that we have formally now applied to the league and the FA requesting that the club to be registered at Meadow Park for the next season.
And it's a good thing. Obviously, they can't quite. Obviously, at that level, the problem is being able to afford the cost to then rebuild the ground. And unfortunately, we're in a situation where there isn't a structure in place that allows Premier League and Championship grounds to come down. The FA grant, which we talked about with the changing rooms, which is about 150 grand over 3 years or something, that isn't touching a football stadium that holds 3,000 or 4,000 people. No. That's the problem. I'll tell you what I did see, actually, is an alternative to make cheaper stands for non-league clubs.
Oh, yes, I saw
can't remember. Was it America or Australia, somewhere like that? It might have been America, where a non-league club or an amateur club had used a shipping container and built like a 3-row stand. And it was a really brilliant idea. The cost was tiny in comparison.
£9,000, something like that?
So, in theory, I mean, it seats, 45 people? 3 rows of about 15, I think it was. Or 12, whatever. But £9,000, if you're talking about the FA grant of 150 grand, you build 10 of them, you've suddenly got a stand of 450 people.
True, actually, yeah.
And that's for less than 100 grand.
Yeah.
Which
that's incredible.
Is a really good idea. And more importantly,
you can bring benefit to your colours.
I think it might have been America because I think it was somewhere that was ruined by a hurricane or something. And to have cheap implements like that or ways to implement alternatives, because here where we are getting more susceptible to flooding and things like that, and grounds being built on floodplains or whatever, or grounds becoming areas where there are floodplains, to be able to fix things that easily. Yes, you might not be able to go back to original capacity, but you're not spending the same amount of money after the grant, so you'll then make the money back.
And even the recycling element of it, those containers are only going to go to waste anyway.
Exactly.
End up sort of...
And that's fantastic.
They're almost indestructible.
Well, yeah, to be honest, yeah. No, I think it's a brilliant idea.
Oh, what a strike, Camero! An unbelievable strike from the Frenchman.
And now it's time for my favourite part of the show, which is the unofficially sponsored by Noé Pamero, Name the Matchday Squad.
Come on, Noé! Sponsor us! We love you!
Since that music started, it's no longer my favourite game.
So I'm going to choose a game. You two lads are going to guess who's played in it. This can be people who started the game or subs who came on to the pitch. We're not going to get there, but if there's a tiebreaker, we go to subs. You didn't make it, but that's never going to happen.
It is sudden death.
Rules are on the screen.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And just to re-echo Craig from the first game, it is sudden death.
It's always sudden
death.
So
I'm going to link this. I'm going to link this to one that we did a while back. So we're going back to
Portsmouth again.
No, not Portsmouth. No Noé Pamero this time.
Oh.
We're going back to the 6th of January 2008 FA Cup third round. Now you will remember we had Luton Town versus Liverpool, which ended in a 5-3 game. We're now going back to the one where it was Luton 1, Liverpool 1.
Which saved the club.
Do you know what's hilarious out of that? I thought we'd done it.
No. We did when Liverpool
we
won
didn't.
5-3. It was in front of 10,226.
And
Were
do you know
either
who one of them was? It was me.
And I was there as well.
And I also went to the replay in Liverpool when
And
we
so
lost
did I.
5-0. And we'd lost half our players by then because we'd gone into administration in between. And interestingly, I went with one of your colleagues who got me out of a GCSE and I had to pretend I was ill to get the exams.
And
We won't name him
I
for
was
legal reasons.
I was pictured on yahoo.com with a 2020
Well,
sign.
interestingly, I was pictured on TV and a couple of the PE teachers spotted it and stayed quiet.
Fantastic.
That's great. So let's move on to this actual game anyway. Luton didn't actually make any subs, so you're only looking for 11 players. This was obviously the home game.
Yes.
Liverpool made 3 subs, and the goals are only 3 minutes apart, if that helps.
Yeah, I do remember. Remember it.
This
And
could
none
be...
of them were scored by Luton.
No, of them were.
Right.
Okay, it's your turn to go first. So Charlie, cue the music.
Fuck the music.
And I've won.
It is first the man who scored for Luton Town, Liverpool's left back John Arisa.
John Arisa did play because he scored an own goal on the 77th minute.
And I'll go for the other goal scorer for that game. His name is Peter Crouch. He's got a
Crouch.
podcast, by the way.
No, he hasn't.
Don't listen to it. We're better.
Peter Crouch, started up front for Liverpool.
I'm going to go for one of the two players who was sold between the first game and the replay, which was at the time Luton captain Christopher Coyne.
Chris Coyne did play, yes.
What a great game.
So you've only got 10 more Luton players to find, lads.
I'm
Makes it a bit
gonna
more
go-
dicey because there was no subs.
I'm going to go for a former Premier League player, Premier League legend,
That means you're going to go for the one I've got.
Chris Perry.
No.
Chris Perry played for Luton that day as well as a centre-back.
I'm going to go, I think he played, for the, we're already in the I think, for the other player who was sold between the first tie and the replay, David Edwards.
He did.
David Edwards did play
Went to
for...
Wolves.
He did.
He did, yeah. So David Edwards did play for Wolves.
I'm going to go for the man. He was probably man of the match that day. He was unbelievable. Just completely took the piss out of Jamie Carragher, like Steve Robinson did 2 years ago before that. His name was Drew Talbot.
He did play for Luton that day, yes, he started.
Unbelievable.
I am going to go for the man who I think played in midfield, and I think he was the man you just mentioned, Steve Robinson.
Unfortunately, Steve Robinson...
No!
didn't play.
Now I know who it was, and you're going to name him.
Steve Robinson was on the bench. But
That
as we
means-
discussed, we didn't...
That means the man who played is the man that myself and Craig saw at Hitchin v Solihull.
Yeah, he probably would have played. But I'm not going to name him. I'm not gonna
Okay,
name
that's
him.
very moral of you.
I'm not going to name him. I'm going to go for a Liverpool player. Now, he was an absolute legend for Liverpool. Unbelievable. He had great hair. God, just top notch.
I know that, can I just say, Craig's doing this because we've been an hour and 5
Yeah.
minutes, so Charlie's got lots of editing to do.
His name is Andre Voronin.
He come on as a sub.
I thought you were going to do cinema upon goals.
No,
Ryan
I was
Babel.
going to say Charles Atonge as well.
So you were unlucky there, Dan, because Luton didn't make any subs. Steve Robinson was on the bench.
Was it Matty Spring then who played centre mid?
No, he didn't. No.
Oh.
No.
I
So
didn't
we've
know
got
that.
for Luton that
Curry
day.
and Bell as well, haven't I,
Yeah.
on the wings? Oh no!
So you
Bell,
got
thanks.
Dean Brill, Chris Coyne, Chris Perry, Drew Talbot, Alan Goodall, Keith Keane, David Bell, Darren Curry, David Edwards. Oh, sorry, Matty Spring did play. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah.
Fucking hell, Charlie, you've got the list!
Calvin Andrews, sorry, yeah, and Calvin Andrews started up front. On the bench that day, obviously none of them used. Don Hutchinson, Richard Jackson, Steve Robinson, Stephen O'Leary and Paul Furlong.
Interestingly,
Wow.
left back Alan Goodall and sub centre midfielder Don Hutchison started the replay at centre half together.
There you go, yeah. For Liverpool that day, you had Charles Etonge in goal, Steve Finnan, John Arisa, Sammy Hippier, Jamie Carragher, Lucas Leiva, Yossi Benayoun, Xavi Alonso, Dirk Kuyt, Ryan Babel, Peter Crouch. Coming off the bench that day, Andre Voronin, Javier Mascherano, Naby Elzar. On the bench but not coming on was David Martin and Jack Hobbs.
Oh, was Gerard not in the squad?
Gerard was not in the squad that
He
day.
was the only one that wasn't in there. Torres wasn't in there either.
no,
was he?
Torres,
But he scored a hat-trick in the
yeah.
replay.
Yeah, Gerard scored a hat-trick in the replay.
Sorry, yeah.
Torres didn't score at all.
No. Don Hutchison kept him in his pocket.
Yeah, he did. Ryan Babel scored right in half-time.
I can't believe, yeah.
The music is on, and Craig has now won 8 in a row since the music started.
Yeah,
in
I have
8
now
weeks.
turned into Luton Town in real life. Well,
So I feel we should talk for 5 more minutes to get Charles
No.
back to
Look,
No.
that is it for today's episode. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter at HonestFootball3.
And it's time for Craig's 20 Twitter handles of the week.
at CraigSavage89 at FM_, whatever it is. Don't matter. And we'll see you next time.